Hi everyone, Matthew with Dr. G and Technology, and today we're going to go over landing the job by reviewing the interview process, questions and answers, how to tackle the interview for organizations such as Apple, Meta, Google, Microsoft. I have consulted with all of those organizations by looking at their training material for new hires such as yourself. So let's dive in by understanding what our goal here is with the channel, Dr. G and Technology. And our goal is really simple to help you achieve your life goals while advancing your technology career. So, the purpose of today is to go over three aligned tactics to tackle the interview so that you can get the job, even if you have no experience. So, be sure to download our freebie up there regarding newsletter, as well as at the time of this video, we have a download of free hidden job search areas that you may not know exist for newbies, even especially new individuals in IT. So we look forward to seeing you there. So about me, I've spanned interviews from IT intern to chief data officer. And so I've seen the positives, negatives, what to do, not to do, but most of all, the cadence of the interview flow and what to expect. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, let's get started. So I've deconstructed the interview process into three areas that pretty much all interviews follow. So we're going to look at researching the organization first and foremost before you even step foot, maybe before you even apply for the position. And by that, I mean research the company. What industry are they in? What department is hiring? What technology are they trying to get help with, right? That's why they're trying to hire you. And then even get to know a little bit about the interviewers. Maybe you find their profiles on LinkedIn if you can get a hold of their names. Point being, do as much research as you can so that you are well prepared for the interview. So the first part of the interview typically is all about you. That's the question they'll ask. They'll say, tell me a little bit about yourself. And for that, have your personality, right? Show your personality, show who you are, so that they get to know, how much of a fit you are on their team, and in the organization, because every company has a culture, they have a mission. Those are all things that you should be researching as well. And maybe have a story about yourself of why you want to work for the organization regarding maybe your career growth, values, alignment. You like the mission. Maybe you're very mission oriented. I see a lot of organizations hiring people that way. And the reality is, every company is looking for a certain mold of a certain type of person. And maybe it is you, maybe it isn't. But you are at least preparing yourself for the interview by aligning you, your personality, who you are, and just get to let them know everything there is about you, right? So that is kind of phase one of the interview. And just be as open as possible. Phase two usually is the fact checking part of the interview. Now they want to know not necessarily about you, but what do you know, right? And how can you apply it? So this is knowledge checking. And here you want to kind of respond in both business and technological terms, especially if you're doing a interview looking to go for a technology position, maybe a programmer, systems analyst, a data scientist, right? Just depends on what you're looking for. Cyber as well. So an example question, and this may be a rudimentary one, but they may say, what is an IP address, right? I remember having that question many times on my first interviews way back when, but it reappeared and I got better and better at the answer. Initially, I was answering from a technological perspective. I would answer something like, well, an IP address is a unique identifier on a network that is made up of a 32 or 128-bit address. And then I would stop. Crickets. I'd leave it there, right? Eventually, I got to realize I need to answer from a business perspective, meaning why does it exist? And maybe you'll say something like, well, it helps avoid traffic contention and collision on the network so that data can reach its intended recipient on any device, right? Something along those lines. You're not just saying what it is, but why it's being used and maybe even how, right? So that's the goal, is with knowledge checking, always remember to answer both business and technological terms together, right? Also answer what you know. They may ask you to deep dive a little bit more into a specific question. And stretch only what you know if maybe you've read about it or you've heard about it by something or someone credible. If you are trying to make up facts on the fly, they will see right through it. So don't make up any facts. I have seen many of my students try it in mock interviews, and I catch them right away. I'll tell them, stop, don't answer that way because I already know you're making it up, right? So only stretch yourself, and they will try to stretch you by answering what you know based on something credible, right? So you'll get a lot of different interview questions like that that are knowledge checking, fact checking about what you know. Then they'll start looking still here in the knowledge check area about your team skills, right? A team check. And that's going to now shift into a story about you had or have that you've led on a team. Now, if you're new, what I would do is focus on your leadership styles, right? Maybe discuss, how do you manage? How do you lead things when you're around the house or your family, anything of that nature, right? But if you have a little bit of experience, then discuss how you led a team. I mean, how did you lead the people? How did you convince them to do something maybe they didn't want to do? Maybe all of a sudden the timeline got moved up or they had to work late, right? So you always want to have a story ready about how you lead. So leadership is the key there. Then there continue team checking, fact checking about a story about how you failed, right? Maybe something you did wrong. And this is always a 1-2 punch. Always have and be ready of something that, yes, you failed in for whatever reason. But the second part of that immediately is, how did you rebound? How did you overcome it? Some of the interviewers will directly ask you, how did you overcome the failure or the issue? Some won't. And they're looking and fishing to see if you can answer how you rebounded, right? So have a story about how something went wrong and how you turned it around and made it right. Right. And then, still on the team check concept, is have a story about a problematic relationship on a team. Maybe that's with your boss, maybe that's with a peer, or maybe that's with somebody who reported to you, right? And so that one I just got very recently on an interview. And I tend to go to a lot of interviews just because people will ask me for consulting things and they want to know, be sure I'm a fit, right? And so have that story ready to go about a problematic relationship. And again, how did you overcome it if you did, right? So I would have one for all three: a problematic relationship you had with a boss, a relationship you had with a peer, and a problematic relationship you had with somebody who might have reported to you. Now, again, if you're new and you don't have one about someone who reported to you, maybe you can think about a team project in school or something of that nature where you did have a little group effort and you took a lead on something and someone didn't want to do something you wanted them to do, right? That would be just fine as well, but just don't leave anything on the table. And the interviewer could go in all three directions, right? Just depends. Have all three ready is the key. And then the last of the third is wrap up, right? Here, when they're wrapping up the interview, it's time for you to kind of turn the tables on them and start asking them questions. So always be ready with questions. And well, where do you derive these questions from? Well, if you remember, we talked about doing your research before you even apply for the position. Right then and there, start jotting down your questions about the company, the job, the people, etc. Right? So you'll have them ready to go, and maybe others will pop up in your head while the interview is happening. But some areas you want to be asking about is, ask them about business viability or profitability, meaning how's the company doing? If it's not a publicly traded company, a private company, you may not know that, right? You might want to know, are they doing enough to grow? And then move on to, what's the growth of the job, right? Maybe you get your foot in the door with this position, but then what? Where's it going to go? What's the career path for this look like, right? And let them answer you, because who doesn't want to know that, right? What you don't want to ask for is about salary. That doesn't come until you get the actual offer. And that's the whole point of this video, right? Is to land the job, right? And when the offer comes, that's when you negotiate. And you can find several other videos where I talk about negotiating salary and salary in general in the channel. And then lastly, always thank them by name. At some point in the interview, maybe towards the beginning, as soon as you know their name, jot it down. And so now they'll begin to realize you are establishing a relationship with them now in return, right? So those are the three segments, if you will, of pretty much just about every interview. And that is, first of all, research the company, but then it goes into about you, and then it goes into fact checking about your knowledge and teamwork, and then it goes into the wrap up phase. So if you can master those three, I think you'll be able to land the job a whole lot easier. So, hopefully that's helped you regarding your interview skills, questions and answers, how to be prepared to land the job. But it doesn't end here. I'm always available for your help. You know that as your mentor. Feel free to reach out by any means that you need to. And be sure to click and subscribe the button down below for updates on any new videos and content. Also, feel free to join our communities. You have the ability to download our freebies up on top, as well as join our free newsletter so you can become a part of our network. And you can also join our LinkedIn area or group called the IT Village by clicking on LinkedIn and looking for IT Village, where you'll find other IT professionals and newbies such as yourself. We'll see you on the next video.